Hey, this is Ken. I'd like to give you a tour of my N-scale model railroad layout. I call it Dawson Junction. It's located in the foothills of the Coast Range in the Willamette Valley in Oregon. Start off with some rural landscape, a small farmhouse, and then you come to the Hull Oak Sawmill. It has a loading shed that was used to load boxcars in the 1950s. Now loads, they have center beams and wood chips and a lunch shack. And in the corner of the layout here, I've modeled one of their historic loads from 1964, where they cut a 28-inch by 30-inch by 110-foot wood beam that was the world's longest love seat, shipped to Memphis, Tennessee. 6 miles from here at Alpine Junction, the engineer disconnects the engine from the front of the train, moves it around to the back of the train, and then pushes the train up the 6-mile spur using remote control while standing in the caboose. And that brings us to the mill. Now here at the mill, the trick is to get the empty cars in and the loaded cars out. What we're going to do is disconnect our caboose and put it on the center spur just to get it out of the way. Our next move is going to be to move the empty center beam onto the north spur to get it out of the way. I want to give a quick shout out to a couple of the websites that gave me a lot of inspiration as far as realistic operations and small layouts and puzzles. Now that we have enough room to pull some of the full cars out, we're going to grab the loaded center beam from the loading shed and move it to the center track. This layout is 1 foot by 4 foot long, completely portable. I built a foam board cover to cover it when it's in storage or traveling, and I did a lot of the background with inkjet printing. This is the beginning of our outbound consist. So in real life, these spurs can hold up to 8 or 9 of these cars for the purpose of this model and to keep the entire length under 4 feet. I've made it so you can only put 3 cars on the north spur and 2 cars in the loading shed and on the middle spur. Now that we've got our loading shed clear, we can pick up our empty center beam and move it into place where they can continue loading the next order of wood. Railroad service to Dawson began in 1908 as the Corvallis and Alsea River Railroad laid the first tracks into the area. This railroad was a critical link between the lumber railroads, the sawmills, and the larger communities of Monroe to the south and Corvallis to the north, in an era when the roads were few and muddy. The Lower West Side branch, which ran from Corvallis to Monroe, and the Bailey branch, which ran from Alpine Junction to Dawson, was bought by Southern Pacific in 1912. Now we can grab the loaded wood chip car, pull it out from underneath the chip loader, and move it onto the center spur as well. In 1993, operations shifted from Southern Pacific to the short line Willamette Pacific Railroad, who leased the lines from Southern Pacific Improved roads over the years and the downturn in the lumber industry saw a long period of decreasing tonnage on this line, leaving Hull Oaks the major shipper at the end of a deteriorating spur. These wood chip cars that you see are real wood chip cars. They were painted by Willamette Pacific. It's for the Oregon State Beavers. The University of Oregon Ducks is the green one, and the black one is the Drug Abuse Resistance Education car. In 2007 saw the last shipment from Dawson by rail. The railroad began an embargo, ceasing the operations on the line as a prelude to the legal abandonment. Hull Oaks, using the foresight which has served them well over the years, was ready for this change and is now shipping wood chips and lumber by truck. Lumber needing rail service is transferred to rail cars in Junction City. Okay, this allows us to put the empty center beam car under the loader. The wood chips are blown from the mill to the loader using low pressure air, and the center beam car is pulled back and forth by a chain to load it evenly. It's about the easiest scenario we can do. By adding other cars or varying the order which they're in, we can make this much more difficult and give us more time to have fun. So I'm happy to say I had a chance to take this model down and show it to the fellows at Hull Oaks, including the owner and his son. They seemed quite interested. And with that, we're ready to hook up to our consist, pump up the air pressure, check the brakes, and head for Corvallis. This is only taking a few minutes on my layout here. In reality, this would be a full day's worth of work for the engineer. So this was Ken. I hope you enjoyed the tour of my layout. Hope it gave you some great ideas. I'd like to thank my daughter Robin for running the engine for me while I filmed, and to Bob from Illinois who donated the Dare wood chip car. Thanks, Bob.
Like an old railroad man riding out on the Wymann line, humming along Old Dominion blues. Not much to see and not much left to lose, and I know I can walk along the tracks. It may take a little longer, but I'll know how to find my way back. Like an old railroad man who's really tried the best that he can to make his life add up to something good. But this engine no longer burns on wood, and I guess I may never understand. The times that I live in are not made for a railroad man. Like an old railroad man getting on board at the end of an age. The station's empty and the whistle blows. Things are faster now, this train is just too slow, and I know I can walk along the tracks. It may take a little longer, but I'll